I'm like, no, you don't need to leave your problems, your personal problems at the door when you come to work. If you're happy, and I want you to be happy, and if you're upset, if something's wrong, then we need to talk about it so we can fix it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm trying to make sure that the employees are happy and they're thriving. I want them to thrive at home and at work. I want them to be positive and really enjoy what they're doing. And if I can help them have a better life outside of work, they're going to be better at work.
They're come in better, yeah.
Yeah, so the way I do that is I try to build a culture of vulnerability where we're able to share our issues with the people around us in the workspace, and it just sort of kind of like osmosis or something goes into the guest experience as well.
This episode is brought to you by Restaurant Systems Pro.
With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, owner of The Crunkleton, Gary Crunkleton. Gary, my man, are you feeling unstoppable today?
I'm feeling unstoppable, Eric. Thanks for having me.
Dude, I'm feeling unstoppable because everyone that I bumped into over the past 2 days here in Raleigh, when your name Gary comes up, they're like, legend, amazing dude. You're going to have so much fun with him. They really set the bar high on this one, not to make you too nervous, but I cannot wait to dive in. But before we do, let's get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
Well, I'm gonna put it into context for you. When I was a kid, I used to mow grass, to earn money, and I kind of struggled with. It seems like I always struggled with my direction and what I was supposed to be doing, and there was this one family that I worked for, Boots and Louise, and she would always give me this advice to just be yourself. As long as you're yourself, everything's going to work out. And it was kind of one of those quotes or inspirational quotes that's true, but really hard to decipher when you're 15 years old.
Yeah, keep going.
But now I find myself saying it to people all the time. I bartend in a college town, so we'll get the undergrads and graduate students coming, and many of them are leaving undergrad to go on with their lives or leaving grad school to go on with their lives, and I'll say, just be yourself and it will all work out. At 57, with 3 kids and a loving bride, I think I understand what Louise was talking about when she said it back in 1980, 81 or so.
I think it's tough when you're younger, and the irony is when you get that advice when you're a young man or a young woman, you don't know who you are yet.
Yeah.
You don't really have an idea of who you are until you're in your late 20s. I feel like that's like that where that self-awareness really starts to kick in. Your frontal lobe is fully developed at that point, and that's where self-awareness lives, in that frontal precortex area. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And
it's one of the last things to evolve or to mature as an adult. So you don't really start to fall into who you are until you're a man or a woman. Right. So I think it's kind of ironic. And also, there are no secrets to this industry. And some of and it reminds me what you said, just be yourself. The lessons we get in literally kindergarten are the secrets to being successful in the restaurant industry. It's that simple, but it's also that hard.
It's so hard.
Yeah. Being yourself isn't easy.
It's so hard. And especially for us that are in we're in the service hospitality industry, all we do is give. Right. We don't say no.
Right.
It's hard. It's hard. And when you said that most people develop it in their 20s or late 20s, I was thinking, again, here I go. I'm behind, because I think I'm still working on that now. I know the past couple of years I've been working on authenticity. I feel like sometimes I'm the mechanic that can fix everyone's car in town, but drives a jalopy, drives a piece of junk and can't fix myself. I find myself wondering what really inspires me and what really makes me get excited to get up in the morning.
In what ways are you fixing other people?
Well, as a bartender, oh man, people come in all the time, Eric, with different issues well, I shouldn't say with different issues. I should say people often come in, and they come in. People come to bars for a bunch of different reasons. I would like to think that my bar, they come to escape and feel comfortable within a setting where they're allowed to be They can drink. They can drink 2 drinks. All I want them to do is drink 2 drinks. Our drinks are strong. They can have 2 drinks and feel a little less inhibited and a little more relaxed and talk to the staff. I think people come to bars for a bunch of different reasons, but I would like to think, I'd like to hope that there's a different type of experience when they come to my bars, because they're going to get a little more fulfillment out of that experience. And it's a little more of a, I don't want to sound too self-righteous, but
it's about the relationship.
Yes, but it's a short relationship. It's in and out, 2 drinks.
Well, speaking for myself, I can say this, that when I decide where I'm going out to eat based off of the people that work there, or the community of people that I know I'll meet up with when I'm there. Like, I don't really chase food experiences. I chase relationships.
Yep.
And what's going to bring me back to a bar is what type of relationship I have with that bartender or the people that work there. Do I enjoy their company? That's huge for me.
Right. People go to bars for the bartenders.
Right.
When I was consulting, I don't consult anymore, but I used to consult a lot. We opened our bar in 2008, and back then in North Carolina, the cocktail renaissance wasn't happening. Dale DeGraw started it in '96, and it had caught on in New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Portland, Oregon, Seattle. It wasn't even happening in Atlanta. It was happening in New Orleans, but New Orleans is touristy, so they're doing other things besides the classic cocktail. But when I did this thing, I focused on classic cocktails, and a lot of people didn't know what those were, didn't know how to categorize it. It was very, very new. So I was able to get a lot of consulting jobs out of that, because some rich guy wanted to open a bar, and they would hire me to come and set it up.
It reminds me of this, like the advice for doctors, like, don't be a general practitioner, like, be a specialist. If you want to make money as a doctor, like, be a specialist.
Specialize.
Yeah, specialize. And you specialize.
I specialize in classic cocktails.
Yeah, in a time where it was becoming a fire and not a lot of people knew about it. It's
a
good place to be.
It wasn't happening in the South. There were a couple guys doing it in Atlanta, but overall it wasn't really happening. So I would do these consulting jobs, and these rich people would they would spend $80,000, $140,000 on equipment. Wow. But not want to pay the bartenders $10 an hour or even $7 an hour. Right. They wanted to pay them the minimum wage, which is like $2.35 or something. It might be more now. I don't know.
Depends on the state.
Yeah, but we pay at least 10. Where I work, and it just didn't make sense, because people come to bars, like you were saying. People come to bars for the bartenders,
not the fancy machine.
Not the fancy machines. Yeah. So that being said, with the staff that I have, or the experience that I want to evoke, with the guests when they come in, is I want them to feel relaxed and comfortable, and able to talk about whatever they want. So when you ask the question, like, how are you talking to guests, or, man, I mean,
you also give them 1 or 2 drinks, and again, that frontal lobe is the executive place, and that's the first thing to go offline when you have a couple of drinks, and that's when the truth comes out.
Yeah, it's
a great truth serum. So, like, you ask somebody, how you doing? Get ready.
Yeah, buckle up.
Yeah.
I had a girl come once. She had just been sexually assaulted, and she came to the bar because she knew that she'd feel safe and she could talk to me.
Wow. That's saying a lot. Most women don't feel safer going to a bar.
Yeah. She came to the bar and talked to me, and then we called her. She was an undergraduate. We called her roommates, and they came up, and
like literally just got sexually assaulted.
Yeah,
wow.
just happened. Yeah, just happened. Yep.
So she came
to the bar. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I've had situations where people get divorced, or they get in an argument with their wife, and they come to the bar to relax. Now, I'm not saying, my bars are ho-hum. They're bad places. No, they're exciting places. But what I hope that we're able to offer is a place where people could feel themselves and be themselves.
I love that.
But it's hard. It's hard. It's a hard business. I know you were talking about your mom and dad had a restaurant. It's a tough business. It's really, really tough. And And being able to, for me, being able to give so much, like, and show so much vulnerability to guests, and I'm not looking for anything in return. It's not transactional. It's just me being who I am, genuine. I think it's skewed my authenticity a little bit. So that's what I've been working on the past couple of years.
I want to make sure I understand this. We're getting deep right off the gate, but by being there and vulnerable for others, that skews your authenticity. So, but it sounds like you're authentically interested in people.
Yes.
So, what am I missing?
There's also this role of customer service where you say yes. And the customer's always right, and that aspect of it. So we're in an area where it's supposed to be transactional. I don't know if this makes sense. It makes sense to me, but we're supposed to be transactional.
There is a transaction happening.
Yeah. And then because they're giving you the money, they're the client, or they're the customer.
Yeah.
They're higher, or it's not really about the bartender. It's about their own experience. When I am opening myself up and showing my vulnerabilities so they will feel more comfortable, then it can get difficult.
Because they're not there to listen to your problems.
Yeah, I think I may be going down a rabbit hole.
No, I hear what you're saying. You're kind of like a human pincushion, where a bartender's job is to listen and to absorb and to make people feel like they can come to you in the most horrible times, like after being sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
So you've been in this industry for what, 30, 20?
A long time.
I don't want to date you.
92 was my first bartending job.
92. So 31 years.
Damn.
31 years.
Thanks,
and that's a lot.
You want to kick me?
But that's a long time to be just taking it.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm hearing is that we need to be better about being heard and going and making sure we're getting that, whether it's a therapist or somebody, a friend to meet up with regularly and just offload. And you don't get to do that in your position. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, you don't get to offload.
Is that what is that am I making the connection?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I want to add to this. I don't know if you want to. It's your show. And I don't want you know if you want to
barely edit.
I want to add to this too. in the 90s when I was bartending, like right now, currently, the past 7 years, 8 years, vulnerability is being cool. But in the 90s when I was bartending, when I'm opening myself up and talk to people about stuff,
Get out of here with your problems.
Yeah. They used to say, leave your personal problems at the door when you come to work. But now when I train staff, or I'm like, no, you don't need to leave your problems, your personal problems at the door when you come to work. If you're happy, I want you to be happy. And if you're upset, if something's wrong, then we need to talk about it so we can fix it.
Yeah.
And I've got this new thing I've been working on the past year or so, which is completely abstract, but I'm trying to make sure that the employees are happy and they're thriving. I want them to thrive at home and at work. I want them to be positive and really enjoy what they're doing. And if I can help them have a better life outside of work, they're going to be better at work.
They're going to come in better, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be. It's like a Danny Meyer thing.
Yeah.
So the way I do that is I try to build a culture of vulnerability where we're able to share our issues with the people around us in the workspace, and it just sort of kind of like osmosis or something goes into the guest experience as well. And I believe that if you talk to a guest that comes to our places, I think they would say they know a little bit about Sally that waits tables, and they know about Bill who bartends. They know about all these different. They have personal relationships with people, and to me, that being able to show that vulnerability has built a bridge.
Trust.
My dad died about 8 years ago, and I own the bar, so I have to work. And I did not want to go to work. I didn't get along that well with my father. So when he passed away, I would have thought that, well, it is what it is, and I can move on now. He's gone. But I was a mess when he passed away. And my friend Robert's father had pancreatic cancer. So I was with Robert. I was in like the passenger seat with Robert while his father was passing away. So that kind of prepared me more for when my dad passed away. But when he passed away, I was a mess. I was a wreck. And I had to go bartend because I owned the bar. So I'm standing there. I don't want to bartend. A guy comes in. He comes in. He sits down. He orders a beer. I pour a beer. He says, "How are things going?" I was like, "Man, things are really shitty. My father just passed, but I own the bar, and my shift is now. I can't ask someone to come work for me. But I'm here, and I don't want to be here." And the guy goes, "Man, my father passed like a year ago. I know what you're going through." And then we talked about that.
Yeah.
We talked about it. And I had a shitty relationship with my father. This guy had a good relationship with his father, so I imagine he was in a much more difficult place than I was. But nevertheless, it was hard. So that's an example. Again, I don't know if you want to. I don't know if this has anything to do with Restaurant Unstoppable. You might want to stop me. But
No, man, I'm loving it.
But
I'm
that's what sparked this thing about vulnerability and showing our true selves and how that can build a bridge. Now, in the '90s, I'm the same person. I was the same bartender now that I was the same bartender then than I am now. I did it in the '90s, and it was different back then. People didn't want to hear that stuff, but now. I guess
there's a transformation happening in society.
Yeah.
And I think collectively people are far more emotionally and socially intelligent today than ever before.
Yeah, or EQ.
We didn't even know what EQ was 20 years ago.
I know.
You know, like it's just now starting to become recognized as a form of intelligence.
Yeah.
And I think that people in the restaurant industry tend to be more emotionally and socially intelligent in general, just because the people who aren't good technicians, you know, who don't do good in the corporate world, who aren't good at doing I guess a bartender is a very, very significant technician, right? When you think about the skill set that you need to be a good bartender. But I'm talking about like the people that are drawn to this industry, like the social aspect. They're very emotionally in tune, you know, they're very empathetic. And we get an abundance of these people. So I don't know where I was going with this train of thought, but I feel like I really don't. I lost the train. Well, if I'm being honest.
Let me add to it. When I train the staff, I have a place in Charlotte, and when I talk to the staff about EQ, I say, IQ is serve from the left, remove from the right, or whatever the order is. I'm not sure. The salad fork, and then the knife. All those little places, all the things that you know as a server what to do. That's IQ.
Right.
EQ is how you do all that, so that you're instilling some kind of comfort and grace with the guest to enhance their experience. What I've been doing lately, which this is crazy, but I was thinking, because we use this Danny Meyer thing, the triangle, where the owner takes care of the staff takes care of the the triangle.
Yeah,
the owner takes care of the staff.
So it starts with the employees, and then it goes to the guests, then it goes to the purveyors, community, then purveyors, then stakeholders, I think is the but I'm not sure about the triangle.
Well, it used to be a triangle.
Okay.
It used to be maybe it's added, but it used to be the staff takes care of the guests take care of the restaurant, and the restaurant takes care of the staff.
Yeah,
that's when I read the book. That's what it was. Maybe I didn't.
I think it's been a while since I read it, if I'm being honest.
They added some stuff to it.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there was in there. Enlightened hospitality is this idea of the trickle down, right? If you take
right.
If you take care of the employees, the most important guests, then like everything you just said. But yeah, like you take care of the employees take care of the staff, the guests, and then it comes back around.
Right.
Yeah.
Community.
That's like the first three stops on the hierarchy.
So what I'm trying to do now, is I'm trying to create the guests' experience. I want them to, when they come, I want them to put their best foot forward. And the reason why is because our staff, they're already putting their best foot forward. Mm. And the owners are putting their best foot forward to make sure that everything's quality. So I want the guests to put their best foot forward when they come to the place. And I don't know if it's working or not. And again, I don't want it to come at the expense of being self-righteous, because I could see myself doing that. But I do these monthly newsletters, and that's what I talk about. Well, that's what I write about.
Well, no, I think it's transformative. You have a transformative relationship with your guests where you're not just trying to serve libations and good experiences, like you're trying to serve that person and make them a better person.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the ultimate.
Now, the
Service.
goal, Eric, the goal isn't to sell 10 million drinks or 10 million or make $10 million. The goal is to create an institution where everybody feels comfortable being there. The owners, the staff, and the guests. We call them guests. We don't call them customers. And everybody feels happy being there. So it only makes sense to me. And if we can make, I'm backing up. If we can make $3 million doing that, that's fine with me, because that's enough. You know, we don't need to make 20 million or whatever. If we can make if we can make our nut doing that, then I'm fine.
Doing it the way you want it.
Yeah, doing it the way we want it.
I mean, how much money do you need to make to be happy? They say there's a number out there. They say, I think it was between 60 and 70, but with inflation, it's probably closer to 70 and 80,000 a year is what you need to make to basically cover your securities.
Yeah.
You know, like health insurance and like a safe place to live.
Yeah.
And like, you know, food, like having like regular food. And you can do that with like 70 to 80,000 a year and like have security, right? Beyond that, it's a drug. Money's a drug. You'll never have enough.
I have, what do I have? Like 6 places. I have 6 businesses, I think. And like, what's enough?
Right.
Am I supposed to have 20? Supposed to have 30? The best thing about those businesses is that they've allowed other people to get their stake, to get the equity in the businesses. That's the very best part about it.
We're going to get into that.
That's the very best part.
We're going to get into that. But we haven't even talked about your early career yet. We were just on the tear. But I do want to add one thing before we move on. What's happening when you're vulnerable with people is that you increase trust. When you lay out your vulnerabilities, it's what happens when a dog lays on their back. When a dog lays on its back, when you approach it, it's literally revealing its vulnerable side, its gut. And why it does that is because it wants to show you, I'm not a threat. I'm vulnerable right now. And the way humans do that is we share information. You know, like if I give you information that will put me in a place where I'm vulnerable, I'm basically saying you can trust me. And that opens up the relationship.
Yeah.
And if you can strengthen trust, like trust is the glue in a relationship, right? So by being vulnerable, you're increasing that bond with the guest, and that guest is going to have a connection with you and they're going to come back. And I think that's what's happening.
It's the only way I know how to be, really, Eric. It's what Louise said, just be yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been. That's what I've done.
Right.
And
so let's go to the beginning, man. Where does it make sense to start sharing your story? Because you started in 92, you said.
Yeah.
You opened your first bar in 2008.
Yeah.
So, like, at what point were you like, this is my career?
Well, I got out of the Navy. I went to school. I graduated high school in 84, and then I went to college, like everybody. The 80s were wide open. There was a lot of extracurricular things going on. We were all celebrating our post-high school freedom.
Right. What was your freshman year GPA?
I'm not sure. I had, I had.
Mine was a 1.18.
Well, I'm not trying to steal your thunder, Eric, but I had a 0.0, a 0.6.
Damn.
I had a 0.0, 0.6, 0.9, a 2.6.
You're making me look good right now.
And a 1.4. And I should have flunked out after my 3rd semester, but back then they were switching from ledgers, like paper notes, to computers. So I beat the system. And then eventually, after my 2.5 semesters, after 5 semesters, I guess, after 2.5 years, it caught up with me and they put me on probation. I couldn't return for a semester. I moved back home. My parents go, why don't you join the military? Your brother did the military. He loved it. Why don't you try it? And I remember thinking, the shirt on my back, they bought me. So I got to do what they say. So I joined the Navy and I did real well. I did 5 years of the Navy and then got out in 92. And I wanted to redeem myself. I wanted to prove that I could do this. I could do college the right way rather than the way I did it in the 80s. So I took classes. For every F I made at ECU, I had to make an A to turn that into a C, a 2.0. And I graduated. I didn't graduate. I got into Carolina as a junior transfer with a 2.8, which seems really low, but when you think of the 70 hours of Fs that I had,
Balance that out.
yeah, he balanced it out. It was amazing. I worked
Yeah.
really. I probably worked harder to get into UNC than I did when I was at UNC. So I had a friend that owned a bar in Chapel Hill, and he and I used to party together in the 80s. And when I got to Chapel Hill in 92, I asked if he'd give me a job, and he did. He gave me a job bartending. So I learned how to bartend. Now, it was an underage bar. A lot of freshmen would come, and they would have dollar night on Wednesdays. So the people would pay $1 for the drinks, and they were in cups. So it was really just highballs, highball after highball after highball, fast. They wanted their drinks really, really fast. And that's where I learned my speed. And then there was a bar up the street, a really, really, like a great bar, like where Harry would have met Sally, just like this great, venerable bar in town. And it was the standard. And they needed a bartender. And one of the guys came and asked me, he heard I was a good bartender, and he asked me. And I remember at the time I thought, well, I'm making $140 a night. You know, I'm catching fish. I'm doing well. I don't need, he's like, you're going to do fine. You know, come over. So I went over there, Henderson Street Bar, and that's where I learned how to be a barman. I think that's where I learned how to talk to the guests. That's learned where
I was just going to ask, what does it mean to be a barman? It sounds like a professional evolution for you in your career, where you went from being a bartender to a barman.
Yeah, I think it means. Now, there's also this term mixologist, which I don't ever think I was a mixologist. But
yeah, it's
I think a barman means someone that.
I think it's everything you just talked about.
Someone that knows how to run a bar.
Yeah.
Someone that knows that. There's a guy sitting here that just went to the bathroom and he's been in there 5 minutes. Is everything okay with him? While you're making a drink for this person here who might have his fifth drink, which is too much. So you're watching him. And then there's a couple over there in the back corner where they're arguing. So you want to make sure that that stays under control or whatever. So it's just the person that can run all that stuff.
Like one thing too is one thing I've learned from listening to bartenders who have been on the show is like when you have people sitting at the bar, right? And like the mastery, the art of getting them to talk to each other, and like knowing enough about two different people and being like, oh, you should go talk to Johnny down there because you guys have this in common. Yeah. And it's managing the room. Yeah. You know, and it's having your hand on the gauge. Yeah. And it's kind of like what a good host would do.
Right.
You know, they're reading the room too. They're controlling the flow of the energy, right?
I talk about that when I'm training staff. I'm like, treat people like they're at your home. And then I learned a lot of the young kids these days don't have people over to their house. They go out to places.
Right.
So when I would say, you know, you're going to treat them like a guest in your own home, they don't know what that means.
I got to start inviting people. I think what also happened recently is the pandemic kind of broke some habits because we weren't allowed to have people over for a while.
Yeah. Just do a supper club.
Right. We got locked into our infinite amount of streaming services.
Yeah. And the video games.
Yeah.
Do you play those?
There's one game. I never really got into it. If I'm being completely honest, during the pandemic, ironically, I got hooked on a video game. Well, there was one video game I started playing when I was living with a friend a few years back, and he got me hooked. It's called the Rocket League. I'm embarrassed to be saying this.
I don't know it.
It's literally cars playing soccer. It's the most childish thing ever. But what I like is because every match only lasts 5 minutes, so it's like a short bursts of it's not like a
quick gratification.
Yeah, you're not locked in for hours on end. And it's like it's a competition against yourself, really, because you have to get better at the game to rank up and play. To make the game more fun, because other people are better, and you're constantly learning different ways to manipulate the car. Anyway, it's fun. I recently got rid of my Xbox because I'm trying to put more energy into the business. Yeah. It's bad. Yeah. I have an addictive personality. I'll be the first person to admit it.
Well, this isn't a dress rehearsal. This is the only life we got.
Yeah.
So we got to make the most of it. But so I'm bartending and I'm learning a lot about it. Now I never wanted to own my own bar. Never, ever, ever. I knew two people that owned bars, and both of their kids were in trouble with the law. They were just crazy kids. And so I never wanted to own a bar, even though I was really good at bartending. I never thought I would do it. Now, time keeps moving. I finish up my degree at UNC, and I go and be a school teacher.
Is that in Raleigh, UNC?
UNC is in Chapel Hill.
Chapel Hill,
UNC Chapel Hill.
Which is next door, right?
Yeah, like it's like 30 minutes away.
It's hard for me to like get like to get a grasp on North Carolina sometimes, because it's to get like they call it like the triangle.
Yeah,
because it's Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and there's no like water for some reason. Like if I don't see like water, I can't gauge like how far things are from each other. Like you look at it on the map.
Yeah,
it's just so hard for me to wrap my mind around. Like
you need water to
well, I'm from New Hampshire, so like I can look and be like, okay, like that coast like kind of helps you like put it into perspective. I don't know, like when you're looking at a massive land, like you're just like, where is everything?
Yeah.
I digress.
Yeah.
So
I think there's parts of New Hampshire that's like 26 miles apart.
You can fit all of New England and Texas.
I see what you mean though, like with like a sliver of land with Canada on one side, or
for some reason it just helps me like visualize where things are.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I'm at UNC, and I finish up my degree, and I be a school teacher, and I do that for 2 years. Really, really hard. I couldn't even call the roll. It's so hard to call the roll. I had a parent call and say, how many days have my son missed? And I'm like, how many do you want him to miss? It's just really, really hard. So then I went back to UNC to go to graduate school. I started a nonprofit organization sending at-risk kids to camps, and we did 2 of those trips, but I didn't know how to set it up to have long-term sustainability. And at that time, I thought I was going to be like a social entrepreneur. That was my career. That was going to be.
You kind of are as a bar owner.
Well, you can still do those things to donate the money. Yeah. But so that's what I was going to do. Now in the back, I got to mention this part, because in the back of my brain, like who I am my narrative is this person that God's given tremendous amount of gifts and blessings to, but in my own head, I think I'm not worth, my self-worth is really, really shitty, really low. So I flunked out of college, so then I had to redeem myself, right? I'm from this rural North Carolina, redneck area in North Carolina, where there's racism and all this stuff, and God gave me the wings to get out of there. So I have this, like, I'm driven to be better. Like, I feel like I have these gifts, and I want to use them all. If I waste them, then and this is truly how I feel. I don't know how this is going to sound, but I feel like if I waste them, then I'm not doing, my purpose in life isn't really being fulfilled, whatever that purpose is. So I have these gifts, but I don't think that highly of myself, even though I have these gifts. And my therapist is amazed at this. He's like, because people say so many nice things about you, but when you're in therapy and you talk about yourself, it's just horrendous, the things that you say or think about yourself. And it is what it is, I guess. So that's part of this authenticity part. So I'm thinking I'm never gonna, even though I'm really, really good at bartending, I'm not gonna own a bar. I'm gonna do something like law school or social entrepreneurship. So I get I get this certificate program in nonprofit management from UNC, and then I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna go to law school now. Because I can work with these at-risk community, and I can send the kids to camps, and they can ride horses and learn about that. And then the parents, oftentimes it's one parent, I can do some legal work for them and help them better themselves. So I'm just trying to uplift. Like, I want everyone to thrive. I want everybody to do well. I want everybody. I want you to do well. Whatever it is, I want you to do well. I mean, we all have these gifts, and we want to use them. We need to use them for good. So I'm doing that. I apply to law school, and I'm thinking that everything's like the story that I had where I flunked out, and then I redeemed myself, and I'm doing all this goodness, this good work for these at-risk kids. I'm thinking I have a really, really good story. So I apply to law school, and I get waitlisted, and I got like 160 on my LSAT. I had to score, this is a test you take. They told me I should score 2 points more, so 162, which doesn't sound like much, but it's like 4,000 people, candidates. So that's my plan. My plan is to take the test again, and I'm going to be a lawyer and then do this social entrepreneurship stuff on the side. Well, and now in law school, and I didn't know this at the time, but being a lawyer was going to fill this huge void, this big hole in my heart. Did
you become a lawyer?
No.
Oh, I was going to say,
No. Applying to law school.
Got it.
was going to fill this. It felt like okay, I made it. I made it to the top of the mountain. And much of this is because of my father, drilling in me. You're not worth anything. You're lazy. You're not going to amount to anything. All these different things. So that's who I am. That's the context of who I am when I'm applying to law school. So 2000. I think it's like 2004 or something like that. Then I meet Megan. I meet my wife, my bride. And when I meet her, everything just gets filled. And I'm whole. I don't feel like I just feel like I'm whole, and any kind of voids I had, I don't need to fill with law school. So, and then that thinking that I had where I didn't want to own a bar because my kids were going to be in trouble with the law and I wasn't going to be able to discipline them and all this kind of stuff. And it was just not going to be a wholesome environment.
Because you weren't around?
Yeah, because it's a bar. Yeah. Because I thought people think of bars, they think of
condensation or condonation. What's the word I'm looking for? Negative association.
Yeah. It's like a negative. Yeah. I remember at church when I became a member at church. I remember I didn't want to tell them that I owned a bar, and I said that. I said, I don't want y'all to know this, but I own a bar. And they go, Gary, we all know you own a bar, and we're Presbyterians. You ought to, there's a drink called a Presbyterian. So. So anyway, but that was my insecurities, that was my low self-esteem and all that, low self-worth. And that's who I was. When I met Megan, all that changed.
Why did she change you?
She felt, man, I don't know. She's wonderful. Eric, she's wonderful. She's
because she saw value in you, because you felt her love, she made you feel like you were worth something?
Yeah. She made me want to be better, and she validated all these things that I had, and she helped me understand that I'm not this person that I thought I was, that there's goodness in me. She brought me close to church, which that's not for everybody. This isn't.
I mean, I have thoughts. I was raised Roman Catholic.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
You
still have the guilt?
What's that? The guilt? No.
Catholic guilt.
Oh, well, I mean, for me, like, it's honest. Like, I went to a place where I probably didn't believe in something, like where I thought, it's just science. Like, we're just these like lives on a rock floating through space, and it's that. But the more I started looking into like infinity, and when you start really studying like what is possible, like the more we learn about space and the more we look into science, it's like, what was the Big Bang? Like, was that the beginning of a new life that like started what is today? Because life is constantly growing and expanding, right? Was that the beginning of two other life forms coming together and creating something? Because it's all relative, dude.
Right.
Like if you look up or you look down, it goes for infinity. By that I mean if you get bigger, you get smaller. Theoretically, it's infinity, right? So we're just beginning to understand this, like what the idea of infinity means. But if that is true, then the likelihood of there being a creator, or us coming from a father, is plausible. So it's almost making me become, like, the more I look into science, it's like it's almost kind of like full circle, like it makes you believe that there could be a God.
The stuff you're talking about is much more advanced than how I think, but I could see where you're headed with that, and I would say,
I'm not saying I'm sold on religion,
Possibly.
but I'm saying it's
Possibly.
opening my mind to it. Maybe as I get older, I might become more religious. Because there is security in that. I think
there's a lot of security.
Yeah,
in the faith.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely benefits, and I think that there's definitely benefits in religion for society. Getting people to all get along and believe in the same thing helps us go much further.
I think my friend Jamil he's Palestinian, and he was kicked out. His family was kicked out of Jerusalem, and I was just fascinated. He says, Gary, we all want the same thing. There's just different ways of going about it. But it's interesting. This stuff's interesting. I don't talk much about I don't testify or whatever, but it is part of who I am and how I think. But But yeah, I met Megan, and then
So this is 2004. You met Megan.
Yeah,
you opened your
think
bar in 2008.
I think it's 2004, 2005. Yeah, it opened in 2008.
So but you.
Oh, so I didn't want to own a bar. When I met her, my heart is filled, and then I'm thinking it was kind of stupid.
You're still working in bars though.
Yeah, I'm still bartending.
Yeah.
I've been bartending the whole time.
Yeah.
Since '92, except for when I was taking classes and when I was a school teacher for a couple of years in Charlotte. But when I was in grad school, I didn't bartend for that certificate program. I didn't bartend then. I wanted to focus just on getting that degree, on that program. Because undergrad, I always worked, and I never had time to. You just sort of regurgitated what you learned. I never had time to create my own stuff. But in grad school, you create stuff. So that's what I'm doing. And let's see. And then Megan comes along, and I fall in love, and I'm more excited about marrying her than I am about being a lawyer. And I asked her to marry me. She said, "Oh." She said,
That's
yes.
It happens all the time.
She said yes. So we got married. And then I was going to, once we got married, I was less concerned about helping these at-risk kids and going to law school. And I was more concerned about just starting my own family.
Fulfilling your own needs.
Yeah.
But when you got to fill your cup first before you can start to, and that's when your cup starts to overflow. And it's not until your cup overflows that whatever lands in this, like the saucer, or like the what do they call that? The
plate or whatever.
The plate.
Yeah.
Like that's what you give to other people. You gotta.
Is that how it's supposed to work?
I think so. That's what I've learned. But you gotta fulfill your own needs before you can be expected to show up for anybody else.
I know they talk about like when the plane's going down,
yeah,
put your
oxygen.
Put it on you first.
Right. I think now is a good time to take a break and thank our sponsors.
Okay.
And we'll come back and start talking about how you opened your first bar.
We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that right now Restaurant Systems Pro is offering a no strings attached 60-day trial that will help you improve your systems, increase your profit, and find better work-life balance. All you have to do is click the link below.
Action. I love it.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
We're back. And the year in your timeline is 2004, 2005. Your lovely wife helps you see the value in yourself. When you recognize this value, this newfound value, all these things you were telling yourself you couldn't do, you now can do. What was the next step?
So she says, let's start a bar. Yeah. I said, Megan, I don't know about this law school thing. She goes, let's start a bar. And I said, okay, let's do it. And I don't know if other people do this, but I've always, when I was partying in the 80s, and when I would go places, I would always notice, oh, that's nice. Like here, oh, that's a great color green, and that green goes well with the brass. Right. That's a nice detail. So I'll make a note, and then I guess my ADHD stuff, there's like a brilliance in there somewhere that allows you to remember all those things. Right. So I've just noticed things. So there's pieces of the Crunkleton, the original Crunkleton. There's pieces of it that come from different places that I've been to, that I've experienced. So she says, let's do a bar. And my friend Mark Pons, he said he was telling me about what was happening in New York with egg white drinks and this cocktail renaissance. And he says, Gary, you should do that. And I think if people that knew me would probably think that if I opened a bar, it would probably be a sports bar with chicken wings. But that's not really like who I am. I
drinking a Miller High Life.
I like the
out of
High
a
Life.
bottle.
Yeah, I like the High Life. Yeah, I like the High Life. But I like the High Life in the bottle. There's just, I like antiques. I like nice music. I like this civilized bon vivant stuff. Even though I might look like I'm a Bears fan and and like Dick is the god or something. But Pons goes, you should do something like this. And I go, yeah. So I'm thinking, I'm going to make this bar like it's my swan song. Although I'm not dying, but I want to make it just be beautiful. So I came up with this idea and this look, and everything you see, if you go in the bar, everything you see is there. That I created, and I remember people did it. I wanted this this particular type of furniture, this arts and crafts furniture, mission style furniture. I wanted that furniture, and I was already emotionally attached. And I looked around to see, who could make me the best mission style furniture.
What do you mean by mission style?
It's arts and crafts. It's Stickley, Gustav Stickley.
I'm not cultured enough.
It's all it's 90-degree corners.
Okay.
It's sturdy,
Okay.
quarter sawn oak, real durable, utilitarian.
If I looked up mission furniture, would it be pretty obvious?
Yeah, you would.
I'll look
It
it
would.
up.
So there was this one chair called the Eastwood chair, and I wanted like 8 of them in the bar. This beautiful chair. And then I found out those chairs were $12,000 each.
Damn.
Now I'm already emotionally attached to this stuff, so I'm thinking, how in the world am I going to make this work? So there wasn't anyone that was a dealership that had a dealership for Warren Heil furniture. And Warren Heil, I thought, was the best company to make reproduction, Stickley Furniture. There was a company in New York, in the mountains of New York, the Catskills, but they were like a 3-man shop, so it would take 2 years.
Scale, yeah.
A long time to get enough furniture. This place in Pasadena, California, Warren Heil, he could have it right then. So there was no one selling his stuff in North Carolina, and I asked, well, can I be a rep for it? So I'm going to make like a furniture store. And she said, sure. So I'm telling them that I'm going to be a bar that's going to be an art gallery and a furniture store. And they said, what? They're scratching their heads like, yeah, well, are you just trying to get this at wholesale? And I go, well, I got to get it at wholesale. But I'm not just trying to get it for wholesale. No, this is what I want to do.
So the furniture that people were sitting in was going to be the furniture that you had and were selling?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, I like that. You see that happen a lot in the world where people just like, or they literally crowdsource every aspect of their business, and they're like the art on the walls. You can buy that art, the furniture, the table you're sitting at. You can buy this table. Right. I love that. I think it's a great way to bring your community into the mix.
Well, that's a good way to pitch it the way you did. You're a marketing guy. I did it because that's the only way I could afford to do it. So, and the furniture markup, I don't know if you know about furniture markup, but it's like 70%.
Yeah. So
I got it was $26,000 for all the furniture, and it would have been, I guess, whatever the number was. That's 30% of whatever. So I guess it would have been $100,000 with the furniture. So I set the business up. There was an artist in Alabama that I loved, and I thought if I ever had the money to buy his art, I would. Michael Banks was his name. And I remember my wife going, oh, let's go down. She says, let's go down to Birmingham together. We'll do it like a little couples trip, starting our first business. And I go, no, because I didn't think she would like the art. It's different. The art's different. And I thought, no, if we go down there, you're not going to like the art. You're not going to like the artist. And I have a certain way of talking with these people that you're not, you're more of like landscape and still, still print or still, whatever that, when they paint something still. Anyway, Megan hit it off super with the artist, and we went down with $10,000, and I thought we could get maybe 10 pieces, and we came back with 22 pieces, and it was wonderful.
Wow.
Was wonderful.
But you never, the vision that you were pitching this furniture company of selling furniture, that never came to, is that what happened?
I sold furniture once.
Okay.
It's a funny story. If you'll indulge me, so I had to show the Warren Heil that I was going to be a furniture store. So, which meant I had to put an ad in a magazine. So I did. It was $800. It was a full page ad, and I had to send them that magazine to show that we were going to sell furniture. And then they allowed me to be the dealer, which was really, really cool. There's a magazine called The Sun, and this guy Cy runs it, and he said, someone told me that you sell Warren Heil furniture, and I said, yeah, we've got it. And he came down, and he had all these printouts from Mission Living. This is the website where you could buy this stuff. And he said, well, I want to get this one. He had it circled to show me the printout. He says, this is their price. What will your price be? And I said, well, I don't know, but it'll be cheaper than that, I promise you. And I think he thought I was BSing him. I wasn't BSing him. I really didn't know. And then he turned the page and said, how much will this be? And he's paying full price for it. And I finally got tired of him asking me, like itemizing each thing and asking me these questions. I went to the office and I got my buyer my buyer book that has all the wholesale pricing in it. And I said, here. I showed him how to navigate it. I said, find the piece of furniture you want. Here's the cost for it. Add 10%, and that's what you're going to pay. And we did. So I only sold furniture once.
That's funny. I'm curious. So okay, going forward, like take me to the point. Let's try to like fast forward to like you found the location, right? So you're looking for the furniture. You got the furniture. There's a big part of the story that I don't think has come out yet either. That you wanted to focus on liquors that were not necessarily from the state, right? Because what is it called? North Carolina is a state that it's a controlled state, so you have to buy from the state essentially.
Right.
But you can't necessarily buy, what was it, like antique liquor? What's the term for it?
Oh, the antique stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that was in 2015.
Oh, it's 2015.
Yeah,
So, well, I'm talking about the liquor that you serve, where you basically maybe I think this is part of your story, where you changed the law so you could.
Yeah, that was 2015.
That was 2015.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting a little ahead then.
So in 2008 when we opened, there were probably, the way it works in North Carolina is you have a catalog, and you buy whatever they have.
Yeah.
And in 2008 there were probably 20 bourbons in that catalog. But there's 150 different brands,
right?
Coming out of 9 distilleries. So, and I wanted to have all these products. Yeah. The first thing, since I was doing this old cocktail, cocktail renaissance, these old cocktails, I needed to get chartreuse. I needed to get maraschino liqueur. I had to get ingredients that were used in these old drinks. A lot of the drams from the olden days weren't even made. So I remember when we first opened, I was making my own bitters. There were about 5 different bitters, a handful of bitters, and Ango was the best. Peychaud's was available. It was good. But the Fee brothers had all these different flavors, and they weren't particularly that. I didn't think they were worthy of serving. Sorry, Joe Fee, but anyway, I wouldn't make my own bitters, and then the ginger syrup, a lot of this stuff, the quinine syrup, for tonic syrup, we were making that. So we're making a lot of stuff in house, so that we can duplicate these old cocktails. So that's happening, which is really exciting. And then I wanted a wall, like the Grateful Dead had this sound of the wall of sound, and it was all just speakers. So I wanted to have a wall of liquor, and I had the shelving built for it. It's it's the size of this walls here with shelves, and I'd have a lot of
20 by 10, 20 by 15.
It's 30 by 12.
Okay.
So I wanted to have a lot of spirits, and the state only offered so many. So I figured out. I met with this woman in Raleigh at the state office, and I figured out. I learned how to purvey stuff, how to code, how to get spirits coded. And what I would do is, Eric, if you made a banana liqueur that was really, really good, like Tempest Fugit banana liqueur, and that's a good product. All the Tempest Fugit stuff is good. I would say, hey, Eric, I want to have your product in North Carolina. If I order it, will you send it? And you'll say, yeah, because you want to get the product out.
Right.
So that's how I set up. And then, so I probably, this is going to sound like BS, but I probably, my wife would get mad for me saying this, but I single-handedly added probably, I don't know, 1,500 spirits to them.
That's crazy, man. But what's cool about this story, and I think the lesson for the listeners is don't take no for an answer.
Man, you can't.
Yeah,
you can't.
Don't stop at no, because they just ask, well, how can I?
Yeah.
Well, you can't. Why can't I?
Right.
Oh, because this rule? What do I have to do to change that rule? Yeah. Or what do I have to do to circumnavigate that? There's always a way if you're willing to turn on, again, the frontal lobes coming into the mix here, you solve problems. But if you say I can't, your frontal lobe, because we do a lot to save energy with our brains. We're actively trying, our brain is actively trying to save energy and not work because it takes up it takes a ton of energy. So like if you can find a path of least resistance to stop spending energy, your brain will take that shortcut. So if you say it's not possible, your brain's just going to go, nope, and it's going to stop trying. But if you ask how, then your brain will just start trying to fill in the voids, and it will find a way.
When I was chomping at the bit to jump in, I didn't want to.
No, jump in.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but when you own a business, I think this is a good lesson. When you own a business, you run it, and when the poop hits the fan, you're the one that has to deal with it. You got to hold it. You got to clean it up. You got to take care of it. It's when the bills aren't paid, you got to deal with that.
Yeah.
These people that might tell you no,
it's your poop.
the sun's going to come up in the morning for them. They're getting their pay. You know, you got to if you have an entrepreneurial spirit, then you got to make it. There's some savviness there that or ignorance that
Probably
that makes you want to do it. So for me, I wanted a wall of liquor, that wall of sound like the Grateful Dead, and I had to go out and get the products. So now maybe there's 100 bourbons you could choose from, you know, that you get in the state.
So the solution, the only reason why it wasn't an option is because if the state didn't buy it, then they couldn't sell it to you. But there's nothing stopping the state for buying what you need. So that you basically you learn the process of what it takes to get the state to buy something,
Right.
and then you did the work.
And people will poo-poo controlled states, but they serve a good purpose. Like John that owns this bar.
Yeah, thank you, John, for letting us use your space. He's wandering around right now.
He's not a competitor of mine because he's in a different city, but he might want the same thing that I want. So we have, you know, we're working to make those things happen.
Yeah.
And gosh, I remember back then you had to buy the whole case for special order. So I would have 12 bottles of creme de Valette.
Last you 10 years.
Yes. No one wanted to split with me because they didn't want the overhead.
Yeah.
And you know, I was a bar, not a restaurant, so it was okay for me to have the overhead. My wife would, you know, she does the books, and she would say, "Man, you've got $360,000 in inventory. You know, wouldn't it be nice to have that money right now?
Liquidate that?"
Yeah, but so
Well, it is already liquid technically.
sort of. So in a bottle. So that's happening, and I'm getting a reputation as knowing. I think I'm developing a reputation as having a great selection, and people will walk in the bar and they'll say, "Oh my God, this is amazing! It's like a museum of liquor." And I would say, "Well, thank you." I said, "But you know, that's just money. You know, money buys all that. It's easy to do that. That's the easy part. The hardest part is knowing what to do with each bottle.
Right.
And that's what the staff here knows what to do. And that's where I took my pride, that the staff knew.
So yeah, let's get
how to
into
mix
the
all that
evolution,
stuff.
because we did jump. We like leap year like just now 7 years from 2008 to 2015.
Yeah.
So bring us back to the actual what were your challenges? Knowing what you know now, going back through that process of opening your restaurant, like what do you know now that you wish you knew when you were getting started? You worked in a lot of restaurants, but you never owned a restaurant.
No.
So I'm sure there are some things that, from an ownership perspective, you might have missed.
Here's when I first opened the bar, I came from a bar where I would give things away. You know, if a regular came in, I would give him like maybe his 5th beer free. And you can't do that when you're the owner. And that regular at that old bar would come to my bar, and it was awkward that he's on his 5th beer and I'm charging him for it.
Right.
That there's some character stuff there, you know, that can be compromised. I wish I wouldn't have been giving those beers away when I didn't own the bar.
Well, there's a lot of people who do it intentionally because they know they might be losing the profit from that beer in that moment.
Yeah.
But they know that the lifetime sales.
That's the argument. But you know, there's that saying: if you can't measure it, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the defense is, well, you know, I gave him a beer, and now he's going to come back, and it's probably true. But how do you know, if you and I play golf, and we're playing for $5 a hole, and you got a 2-foot putt, and I say, "Oh, pick it up, that's good." Then if I got a putt that's 2.5 feet, I'm expecting you to say,
That's good.
you know, that's good, you know, or what, you know, how do you draw a line on it?
Right.
So it's hard, but
I don't think that one thing I've learned is that there's no right answer. There's just the answer that makes sense for you and your unique situation. It drove me crazy for the longest time because I was trying to find the answer. There only could be one answer. There's so many answers. It depends.
If you can't measure it, you probably shouldn't do it.
And that's a great perspective.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, it's a good answer.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
So that's happening. That's something I learned quickly. Looking back at, as like my evolution. The big thing I learned, the really, really, really big thing I learned about me was that I always paid well. Always, $10 an hour. I always gave them health insurance because I wanted them to be healthy outside of work. I thought the healthier they are outside of work, the healthier they're going to be inside
More
of work.
dependable.
And I had a friend, Robert, who owns businesses, and I would ask him, what do you think? And he's like, no, you can't do that. You can't. There's no way you can run a business that way. So I spent, we've been open 15 years, 14 years, however long it's been. And I probably spent the first 7 years thinking, I'm not a good business person.
Because you're taking care of your employees.
Yeah. I'm not, I'm never going to be that rich guy.
But how messed up is that?
It was so messed up. And now when I learned, it was got validated to me. Someone validated it and said, yeah, this is the way you run business. This is how you do it. And it just goes back to what Louise said, just like be yourself. So that's happening. I've got this great staff. We opened 2008. I had the same staff until about 2016.
8 years.
Yeah, same staff. We added a couple, but it was the same core staff. And they all left for great reasons. Nat met a girl and moved to his farm in Virginia. Christian, his girlfriend wanted to get married. And he said, nah. And then it came around again.
Wait, his girlfriend wanted to get married to him.
Yeah, she wanted to
somebody
get married.
Else? Wait,
no,
what?
No, she wanted to get married. And Courtney. And he was like, not really sure. And then,
Sorry, Courtney.
And then it came up again. It's like, well, you either do it now or we're done. So he married her, and then he moved to D.C. And then Lauren, I think she felt like since the crew was breaking up, she moved to D.C. or she moved to Atlanta. And I think she's married that guy she was dating too. So she was a man eater, but I think they're married now. But yeah, I had a whole new staff, and so that happened in 2016. But at 2015, you asked about this antique spirit stuff. So check this out. So there are these 2014 bourbon is taking off. It's exploding. Everybody wants it. It's hard to get bourbon. It's really hard to get bourbon. And people would come to my bar and say, well, how do you have these bourbons? How do you get all this stuff? And I'm like, man, I got fucking cases of it because I've been special ordering it for the last 6 years. And I remember Albert T. Lee. I probably had 6 cases of Albert T. Lee. And you couldn't give it away. You couldn't give it away. Then after he died, it was crazy. Everybody wanted it. But I had so much bourbon, because I was buying it special order by the case. So that's happening. And I get a letter. I get this memo from Orange County ABC, which is where I buy the county where my bar is. And they say the state doesn't want to have a depot, one place that has all these spirits. And so you're no longer getting Pappy Van Winkle. And we had Pappy Van Winkle, Julian Van Winkle, the owner. He'd come to the bar twice. And we probably went through 17 cases with those 2 events of Pappy, the 10-year, the 12-year. We didn't have the rye all the way up to the 23-year. And Julian's a good guy. He's got a lot of grace. And so I called him, and I said, Julian, I've gotten cut off. They're not going to give me any more Pappy. And he says, well, we had a good run, Gary. I'll send you a case each. So he sends it through to Raleigh, and then Raleigh to Raleigh ABC to Orange ABC. And when I pick it up, there's only 1 bottle in each case. And I was livid. And there was a note saying that if you have a problem with this, contact such and such.
So I'm sure you made that contact.
I was livid. So I called Julian. I said, Julian, man, cut North Carolina off. We don't deserve to have your product. They've just pilfered. That case you sent that was from the bar? They've pilfered it. They've gone through it. There's 1 bottle each. And he said, welcome to pluralism. And I remember I didn't know what that meant. I looked it up. And So I was mad. So my wife said, Megan says, well, Gary, you have to find the next Pappy Van Winkle. I said, well, there's not. There's so much marketing involved with it, and it's not all that great of a product. It's not all that great of a bourbon. It's just so hard to get. That's why everyone loves it. I said, the best spirits in the world, the best bourbon America's ever made are from the 1950s. But I can't sell that because it's not, the state doesn't have it. The state buys what's currently being made, and that's limited, and then they sell it to the bars or on premise, the bars and restaurants. So I had to figure out how I could get.
Did you ever call that number? I want to know that.
Did I ever call?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
No. You know the guy that said call me?
Yeah.
No.
I was curious how that
No,
conversation went.
I didn't call him.
And for anybody who's curious,
it's a losing proposition.
right? So pluralism, a condition or system in which two or more states, groups, principles, sources, or of authority, etc., coexist.
Yeah.
The practice of holding more than one office or church benefice at a time. So wait, I still don't understand how he uses it.
I guess, or North Carolina ABC grabbed their bottles.
Yeah.
And then it went to Orange County. Orange County grabbed their bottles, and then they left one.
But you ordered everything for yourself.
Everything was coming to the bar.
Like you placed this order for you.
Yeah. He sent it.
And everyone else
went after it, pilfered it.
So they have to pay? Didn't
Yeah.
you pay for it?
I paid for one bottle.
Oh.
When it comes, you buy what. When it comes, you buy what's there.
Okay, so you tell the state what you want. They buy it, and then when it comes in, you buy it from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And if there's, I'm bringing. This is crazy. This is a different subject, but like I remember High West when I reached out to Dave Parker, I think, about High West. It might not be Dave Parker. He might be Compass Box, but I said I want to get your product, and they sent some product, and some bottles were opened. It's like someone in the warehouse just went and tasted it.
You can't sell a bottle that's been opened, can you? Is that legal?
You're not supposed to. You're supposed to get it sealed.
Right.
But
what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? Yeah,
Right.
It came. So
Yeah.
But so I said these antique spirits are the best. Those are better than the best bourbon America's ever made was in the 1950s. That's what I believe. So Megan says, well, you got to create something and allow us to sell it. And I said, okay, I'll do it. I'll figure this out. And this is like when you're thinking, like, how do you pivot? Like a lot of us pivoted during COVID, but this is 2015. Bourbon is I'm known as a bourbon bar, although I think we had all the Del Maguey mezcals, where we should just be known as a spirits bar. But people are pigeonholing us to bourbon, which is fine. But if I'm taking this leadership role in bourbon, I need to be able to get bourbon. And I'm not able to get it. They're going to cut me off because they don't want to have a depot. That was in quotations. They don't want to have a depot that has all the product, all the allocated product. I was livid. Because I'd done a lot of work to get this, a whole lot of work. And it wasn't overnight. It was from 2008 on.
Right.
So I reach out to this Speaker of the House. No, they reach out to me. They reach out to me because UNC is playing NC State in basketball, and they want to do a tasting with me. They asked for me before, like 4 o'clock before the game, and the game's at UNC. I said, okay, great. And they told me who it was. So they all come. There's 12 of them that come, and there was one person there that was really, really powerful. You could just tell the way they treated him.
Right.
I don't know who he was, but we all did these tastings, and they all wanted Pappy Van Winkle. So we tasted the Pappy. But when they left, Four Roses was what most of them really, really enjoyed because we did the Pepsi Challenge where you taste them all next to each other. And
was that the 1950s? Four Roses?
No. This was current day whiskey.
Got it.
So then we wrap up our tasting, and they go. The Speaker of the House says, "Gary, if there's ever anything we can do for you, let us know." And I said, "Well, actually, there is something you can do for me." And I pull out this medicinal pint from Prohibition. Pre-Prohibition, and Prohibition medicinal pint, and I pull it out, and I say, they're passing it around holding it like a baby, and I say, excuse me, there's a guy I know that has old cars, like Model Ts, and the state gives him a license plate called Antique that allows him to drive that car on the roads because it's not up to DOT standards.
Right.
I said, I want to have that license plate that allows me to sell these old spirits. I said, it's illegal for me to have that bottle that you're all passing around. It's illegal for me to have that in here because it didn't have a stamp on it. And I can't get it stamped because it's not being made currently. I can only get stuff that's currently made. So I want a waiver that allows me to sell these antique spirits. And the Speaker of the House says, Gary, we're going to get it passed for you. And then they called and I thought they're politicians, so I just thought they were,
telling you what you wanted to hear.
Yeah,
to move on.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But about 2 weeks later, they called, and one of the guys says, "I'm the bill writer for the Speaker, Mr. Speaker, and what do you want it to say?" And I wrote an outline, and I emailed it to them, and then they sent me an email back. No, they sent me a text saying, "Don't email," although they told me to email. They sent me a text saying, "Don't email, text everything to us." So, but they had that outline, and I wrote it all. I wrote the bill, and then they wrote a bill from that all those requirements, and then it passed. So they called it the Crunkleton bill.
Nice.
It was pretty cool. I mean,
I'm the bill named after you, man.
This hillbilly guy from rural North Carolina
now has a bill named after him.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So it passed, and we had all these. There's a cabinet on the wall with all these antique spirits, and I've had them. I've tasted so many of them.
That's a big part of your draw, right? Being known as the guy who has these antique spirits. Is there a limit, like a lifetime on this model? Because antique spirits are limited.
Yeah, I've learned that. So
I was curious about that. You can't do it forever.
It's amazing. So this has been happening for me since 2015. And I thought I'd seen all there is to see. I saw a bottle the other day that I'd never heard of. And I would have bought it. It was on the secondary market. I would have bought it. But I was too late. But I'd never heard of it. And the old stuff, the reason why it's better is the barrel entry proof is lower on the old stuff. I'm giving my secrets.
The barrel entry proof. So when it goes into the barrel, before it ages, the proof is lower.
Yeah. The flavor from the barrel is in the water. It's not in the alcohol. So the more water you have, the more flavor you're going to get. So the lower the proof, the more water.
I mean, I wonder why the water is better. Is it because they're making it with unfiltered, like straight from like the well water?
Well, in Kentucky, they had the limestone shelf that filters the water, filters all the iron out of it. At a billion years ago or whatever, when we were all underwater, we were part of the ocean. This part of the ocean was a low part, so there's a lot of minerals in the stones.
Okay.
From that, from the animals dying, and drift to the bottom. So there's a lot that goes into the water. But I don't know why. Like, to answer your question, I don't know why the water picks up the flavors and not the alcohol. But the water is what picks up the flavors of the oak, not the alcohol. Maybe the molecule's bigger.
Yeah, I'm not a chemist. It's one I heard like a statistic that a master distiller only gets like 5 batches in their life or something like that, because it takes 10 years, right? Or something like that. Like every month they're probably making a new batch, but you don't know the batch, like the whiskey you make today, you can't taste until 10 years from now.
Well, it depends on the master distiller. For it to be straight, it has to be 2 years, and then at least 4 years to not have an age statement. But some people, I would say, I don't want to speak for the master distillers, but the word on the street is that like Jimmy Russell liked 8-year-old stuff, and Booker Noe liked 8 to 10 years. Jimmy Rutledge liked 10 to 12 years.
I mean, you just got to be taking some really good notes, though. What did I do 10 years ago to make it come out like this? Yeah. And if I want to recreate this, I have to wait another 10 years to find out if it came out the same way. And will I be able to remember exactly what it tasted like?
No, they know.
It's crazy when you think about it.
If you and I started a distillery today and we want to make whiskey, we're not going to see a dime of profit for at least 2 years.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy.
So we'll make gin and vodka in the meantime.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of crazy. I've been wanting to ask you this question. There's a book out there called Drunk: How We Sipped stumbled. Wait, where is it? How we sipped, danced, and stumbled our way into society. Have you heard of this book?
No.
Oh man, I think it'd be right up your alley.
Who wrote it?
It's by Edward Slingerland, and he isn't anyone that's in the bar world, but like he just got obsessed. There wasn't a book that took the world of alcohol from an anthropological standpoint. So the influence of alcohol on humanity over time, and he goes all the way back to when we start eating overripe fruit, and he follows alcohol along this timeline until like current day. But it's a crazy book. If you're someone who's passionate about alcohol, and you listen, it's on audio, but it just kind of puts a new perspective. It changed my relationship with alcohol personally. Like the world we live in right now, it's crazy to think that like distilled alcohol is only like a 200-year-old invention. Maybe that number, maybe it's 300. It was in China. 300, yeah, 300-year-old invention, but still only 300 years. When we've been drinking alcohol from like the time we were consuming alcohol from the time we're monkeys,
Industrialized. I mean, making it as is 300 years old.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember the facts from the book, but it's hundreds of years.
Yeah.
But in the big picture, hundreds of years is like yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's like our relationship with alcohol, and the other big, so it's the strength of alcohol, and it's also the abundance of alcohol that's truly unprecedented. Like for the majority of human existence, like you could only drink alcohol on special occasions. There wasn't enough of it to be drinking like in abundance every day. It was saved for ritual and special occasions that people would come together and get drunk and like dance, and like there's all these like things like associated with it. I don't know, I highly recommend the book.
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
You know what's amazing is like right now we have not to get political.
I have Edward on the show, by the way, if you want to listen to the episode first.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
What episode is it?
I'll look it up. Keep going.
So like right now everyone's talking about gun control, because there's shootings every day.
Yeah.
And the government didn't do anything about it. They think about like during Prohibition, the government goes, no more alcohol. So people must have been really hammered for the government, because now people are dying, because of guns. Well, either the shooters, the guns are crazy, whatever the issue is, but guns are involved with people dying, and the government didn't do anything. So there must have been a shit ton of people drinking prior to Prohibition.
I would imagine. But the other variable, like when you look at like how many people are dying from guns today, I'd be really curious to see if it's less than the amount of people that were dying from guns during like, I don't know, like from 1840 to 1890 when we were settling the West.
Well, we had a civil war too.
Yeah, man. Like I think, don't get me wrong. Like like people dying from guns is horrible.
Yeah.
Like
Especially
I'm not trying to.
kids.
Yeah.
Especially
like
the kids.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to see it as much as anybody else.
Right.
But the point I'm trying to make is relative to our history. We live in the least violent time ever, but you wouldn't know it by watching the news and listening to all this gun violence. Like, yes, there is gun violence. I'm not denying that. There's far less of it today than there was 100 years ago. Like everyone was strapped 100 years ago. Like people were shooting each other left and right. Frontier. It was part of man. Yeah. Like if you were a frontier person going west, there were slim odds you were making it to wherever you were going.
You think you would have already been shot by somebody by now?
I mean, probably. I have a lot of opinions.
I'm sure I would have been shot.
Yeah, like, and I'm not trying to underplay like the tragedy that happens. But just take a few steps back and look at the big picture, people. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I mean, where we are on your timeline. Actually, now's a good time to take one more quick break to thank our sponsor, and we'll start to like really lean into where you are today, how you've scaled your business, and where you're going.
Okay.
We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that right now, Restaurant Systems Pro is offering a no strings attached 60-day trial that will help you improve your systems, increase your profit, and find better work-life balance. All you have to do is click the link below.
We're back, and I want to spend the rest of our time kind of talking about like where you are today and how you like any key evolutions to what got you to where you are today, and where you think we're headed. How, like if we can peer into the future of the industry and we can be proactive moving into the future. So real quick, just tell me, where is your business today? Because I know you have the Crunkleton. You have a second the Crunkleton in, was it Charlotte?
Yeah, I have the Crunkleton in Charlotte,
which is the same exact restaurant, but they serve food there.
Yeah, it opened 3 years ago, and then we're doing one in Raleigh and we hope to be open by the end of this year.
And do you have any other restaurants?
I have I'm involved in these things. A wine bar called Rosemont in Charlotte. A cheesesteak concept called Cheats in Charlotte, and we're opening our second one there probably within the next 4 months. And then we're doing this Mexican, like a high-end Mexican restaurant called Puerta. It's going to open in July, I believe. So now I'm me. I'm by myself. I'm solo. My wife and I, we have the Crunkleton in Chapel Hill, and then
Those are the Crunkleton in where's the first Crunkleton?
the first one's in Chapel Hill. Yeah,
The second one is in Charlotte.
Charlotte. Yeah.
Those are yours alone.
No, the Chapel Hill location is mine. It belongs to me and my wife, and we run it. And then our oldest son had some learning differences, and we pulled him out of public school and sent him to a private school to sort of combat that, help him. So we paid that private school bill, and then it got time for our others. We have 3 boys. When the second child was old enough to go to school, we sent him to that private school too, because we thought, well, of course, if Monty can be there, Hudson can be there. So that was 2 bills, and the Crunkleton, the Chapel Hill location couldn't sustain that. I remember my truck got repossessed, and I had to go pick it up. But I called this friend of mine in Charlotte, and I said, let's be partners. Let's open a Crunkleton in Charlotte, because I need more money. And he said, yeah, let's do it. So down there, I have a partner, and then we have another partner. So there's 3 people down there, or me and 2 others. Right? There's 3 of us, and we started a hospitality group that is an umbrella or holding company for these other concepts.
What's that called?
1957 Hospitality.
So 1957 Hospitality, it consists of the Crunkletons in Charlotte, the wine bar, which is called, what was
Rosemont.
it? Rosemont. Cheeks, the cheesesteak concept, which you're about to have 2, and a Mexican concept called
Puerta. Yeah. And it's wonderful. Those things are wonderful because the way, and Blake, he agreed. Like I said, Blake, I want to raise all the ships, when the tide. I want people to I want to be able to give opportunities for ownership the way it was given to me. Well, someone trusted me with $280,000. That's the way it was given to me. But I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to help other people. So we built this great team in Charlotte, Greg and Ryan and Hannah, and they run the Charlotte business, and they do really, really, really well. And then we kind of mentioned to them, if you have ideas, come to us, and we'll see what you think. So they came up with this cheesesteak concept, and the cheesesteak is delicious.
How long ago was this?
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, cheesesteak is blowing up right now.
Yeah, they're delicious. Ours are delicious. I'll eat one and then drive back home because it's 2 hours away, and then I'm around 1 hour into the car, I'm ready to take a nap. But the cheesesteaks are delicious, and now those guys, we started in 1957 Hospitality, and those guys are involved with that, and they're not so much at the restaurants or at the locations. They're working on them rather than at them. So we've got this team, this tremendous team, and we can really, I think if you put a concept in front of us, I think we can make it, come to fruition.
So what is your lane, if you had a lane? So like your lane, clearly barman, right? Like
I think now,
now, but like you know the world, the economics of a bar is where I was going with
yeah, at first I remember thinking, I bartended in the 90s when they had all these shooters, and then in the 2000s those shooters became martinis, and they were Benedictine or not Benedictine, but B&B was on the wall, and bars didn't know what to do with it. They just collected dust. Grey Marnier, they didn't know what to do with it. And I remember thinking, I want to mix all those things together. So that was in the 90s, and it was really, really cool. And then turning those drinks turning those shooters into large martinis just didn't make sense to me. They were huge. The martini glasses were like 11 ounces. They're huge. It just didn't make sense. It was more about quantity rather than quality. So when I opened my place, we went from, I guess the market was doing 11-ounce martini glasses to 5-ounce coupes, and twice the price, and it was hard. People wanted to, people didn't want to pay that. So I remember I had all this liquor on the wall, and we were making all these old cocktails, but they were still drinking Jack and Coke and Makers and Ginger. So I would bring people in. I had to educate. The smarter the consumer, the better my business would be. So I would bring Dale DeGroff in and Bernie Lubbers, talk about bourbon, Jimmy Russell, Freddie No, all these bigwig people.
The goal is to educate.
Yeah, so then
to create excitement around these drinks you might never tried.
Right.
That's why I think you'd love the book Drunk, because I think they get
The Drunk?
into it. Yeah, I think they get into it during that. I've read a couple books. There's another one. It's like,
are you a big reader?
Audiobooks, man. I'm dyslexic. So
I'm not a big reader.
I love to listen. I spend a lot of time on the road.
Yeah.
I'm driving everywhere, so I'm constantly I'm always listening to people refer books to me too. So I have this this never ending reading list that I just chew through when I'm on the road.
Yeah.
And I can listen to a book at times too and absorb really well. And some people can't do that, but I also can't read really well. So it's my strength is being a super listener.
Yeah. You do good work.
Thank you, man.
You do good work. Yeah, so that's happening, and we. So, I think that I used to be a barman. I remember putting those different ingredients together, and then making cocktails. And then I went through a phase, probably 2014 or so, where I wanted to deconstruct. I said, God, why even add 4 different things together when you can have Scotch, which is delicious on its own, or bourbon or rye on its own? So when people would come to the bar, I'll say, well, get a Miller High Life and a Rittenhouse rye if you want to be like me, and just sip and do that. The sweetness of the High Life and the pepper of the rye, it's a good blend. So now I don't think I've worked myself out of a job, but I think now what I really get excited about is building cultures.
Okay.
I like talking about vulnerability. I like getting to know the staff. I like.
You had a 10-year average tenure at one point.
That's huge.
Yeah,
it's big.
So what are the secrets? If this is your lane, if this is your strength, what is the best advice that you wish you had in 2008 that today about how to build a culture? We already talked about vulnerability.
I think I wish I would have been more confident in myself. I don't want to cry, but I wish I would have been more confident. I second-guessed everything I did. And people would say, Gary, you've built, this place is beautiful. What do you think? What do you attribute to your success? And I said, I'm really insecure. And I wanted to make sure I built the place. I didn't want to hear someone talking trash about me. I'm really insecure. And so I tried to build a beautiful place and have the best service. So people they couldn't say this or that. And it's taken its toll. It's hard. It's hard when I am who I am, and I'm my father's son, and now I'm a dad, and I pray I'm different, but I wish.
So why in terms of leadership,
thanks for saving me there.
In terms of leadership and culture, why is confidence so important?
Well, I talk about being yourself, and there's an assertiveness that goes with that, and to say, I'm going to do it this way, and then know you're going to do it that way without compromise. And I think that confidence is what gives it that.
Yeah.
Now, it can't be at the expense of ego. It has to be, humility is important, and grace. Now, what's helped me is I say, this isn't me, this is God working through me. And that helps me. My talents.
When you say this, you're saying your grace?
Yeah. Okay. I think the stuff that I could boast about.
Yeah, the things that you're proud of.
Yeah.
The things,
yeah.
the parts of you that you like.
Yeah.
the fact that everyone fucking loves you. I'll say it.
Well,
because everybody I've come into contact with, man, they have nothing but amazing things to say about you. And your therapist is agreeing with me right now, for the record.
well, thank you.
But you almost don't own those strengths. You don't own your strengths. You say, well, that's just God working through me.
That's what I say.
Yeah. So being more self-aware in owning your strengths is something that
I wish that I were more like that.
Yeah.
Not at the expense of conceit.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, man, like you were doing a lot of things right because you had this what's the word I'm looking for? Loyalty from your staff. You know, the tenure that you got. Like that's the biggest testament to work culture is the people. Are they sticking around?
Yeah.
Or are they going other places?
Yeah, they stuck around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you already talked about pay. You paid them well.
Yeah.
You gave them benefits.
Respect them.
Obvious stuff, like you listen and you talk about vulnerability. You encourage them to be themselves and to present themselves to your staff or to your guests.
Yeah, I want them to be them. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I'm just spitting here. I'm just trying to cover what we've already covered so I can get more. What am I missing? What else did you do?
I give them the rope.
Well, you give them the rope
to create. Now I hated when I had a boss.
Is it horrible that I thought you give them the rope to hang themselves?
No, well, that's the thing. They can hang themselves, or they can. But I.
Is that where that derived from?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. When
autonomy. So what you mean by? Do you mean autonomy?
So when I had a boss, I hated being told what to do. You're going to do it this way. I hated it.
Yeah.
I hate it. And I've been yelled at. I've been spit at, or not spit at, but when they yell at you and the spit comes out.
I had a football coach who chewed tobacco, and he would yell in our faces, and like you would get like chaw on our eye.
Oh my gosh,
Jesus, coach,
that's disgusting. So I hated that. So the people that work with me, I never wanted to tell them what to do. I kind of wanted them to buy in, to trust my way, and then let them see that way. Now, they are welcome. There's a kid now. I just lost one guy last week. But I got a kid now. He's not a kid. He's 24. And he's going to be, he's on fire. He's tremendous. He's smart. He can do what it might take me 3 years to do. He can do it in 1 year or 9 months. And I don't really know. I'm not intimidated by that. I'm excited about it because he's gonna be able to get through this process a lot quicker and be a leader a lot quicker. But at the same time, he's probably going to leave. He's not going to be around for 6 years. And how do I embrace that? I used to hate it when I lost my staff. I don't talk about this very often.
What do you think when you say lost? Do you think to go on and to open his own place or to move beyond the industry?
I don't know if he'll open his own place or not. But this kid could do whatever he wanted.
Okay, but I cut you short your train of thought. Can you remember what you were going to say?
Well, when I lost my staff in 2016, the core.
Yeah.
That was the last time I trained. I stopped training people.
Well, they were your culture carriers.
Yeah,
you recreated yourself in them at this point.
I trained them, each one of them, and they trained the new hires. And I think I didn't feel betrayed, but I remember thinking, what does Bill Belichick do when these players leave, or when these coaches leave and they go, not the players but the coaches, when they leave and they go coach other teams,
and they know everything about your.
Yeah, they know.
So now half the.
I know.
I'm from New England, so this is near and dear to my heart. So half the league knows your playbook.
Yeah.
Literally, like if you look at the NFL right now, there's somebody on that staff that played or that was a part. But that's what happens.
Yeah, that's right. But I have to learn how to accept that.
Success breeds success.
Right. I have to learn. Yeah, I have to learn how to accept that. And that was a hard pill for me to swallow. I had an employee, a bartender. I didn't trust him enough to teach him how to make a Sazerac appropriately, correctly. But yet he had a key to the place, the safe, all that stuff. But I didn't trust him enough to teach him how to make the Sazerac, And I remember thinking, there's something there. Maybe he shouldn't be working here if I can't teach him how to make it. So he didn't last very long.
So you couldn't teach him as in he couldn't learn it? Like
no, I didn't want to teach him. I didn't want to teach him.
Why didn't you want to teach him?
I didn't want to show him what I know.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
That's a good sign. That's your gut. talking
Yeah.
to you right there.
Yeah. I didn't want to share with him. So then I had these 3 bartenders that had been with me since day one, and they all left. All of a sudden left. For great reasons. But I think I went through this thing of
Empty nest syndrome.
well, it's when they leave.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Well, I mean,
I haven't trained since. I haven't trained a bartender since the way that I used to train them.
Yeah. I mean, but when they left, who trained the new people? You had to come back.
Well, I had a guy, Jordan.
Yeah.
He was there, and then he trained everybody the way he wanted them to be. That was 16 to 2000, I think, and 18. And then he's gone, but we left on. It was fine. I got rid of him.
Yeah.
I got rid of him.
Yeah.
And I was opening Charlotte, so I was down in Charlotte a lot, so things were going its own different way. But I think I'm rambling. I want to get back to
This idea of culture. I'm really just
I
trying
think
to
building a
extract-
culture.
Yeah, like what is
Yeah.
it that you know about building a culture? Like what are the lessons now? If you're going to open a restaurant tomorrow, like what are you doing to make sure that place has a culture?
I think that I was listening to your podcast preparing for this, and I think it was 998, and it was
Casey,
the guy that cooked with
Thomas Keller and
Yeah.
Daniel Boulud.
yeah.
Gavin Casey.
Yeah, I was listening to him, and you asked him a question, and he said, "I don't know the answer." And then I'm like, I hit myself on the head. I was like, because you treat people the way you want to be treated. Like if I go somewhere and I find joy in something, there's the answer right there. So I can't remember what the question was, but
What was the original quote that you shared with us today?
Be
Be
your-
yourself.
be yourself.
And I think I said something along the lines of the secrets to this industry or the lessons we learned like in elementary school or like kindergarten. Treat other people.
Treat people the way you want to
be
be
treated.
Yeah, they want to be treated. Yeah.
But it's again, it's that hard and that easy. It's that easy and that hard.
Yeah.
Because especially when you're scaling, and like I think people want to be treated like a significant person, but when you're an owner and you're scaling and you go from managing 30 relationships to 60 relationships to 120
Yeah.
relationships as you're growing all these businesses, you can only handle so many relationships. You can't give the same attention that you did to those original 30.
Right.
So like it's that easy and it's that hard. Like it's easy to say I'm going to treat everybody amazing and give them my attention and my love.
You have to.
But you're only one pool, and when everyone's pulling from it, everyone gets less.
Yeah.
So it's hard. So how do you combat that?
I think I make myself give more. Megan will. I realize that. I think subconsciously, that's why I've always had a small staff, so it could be sort of like a family.
Right.
But when you have in Charlotte, and with the new type of workers that are out here, you have to have a big staff. So I've tried to teach them all.
What do you mean by that? Is it because people are working fewer hours, so you need to hire more to cover the hours? More people are expecting work-life balance?
People are expecting life balance, and they're expecting to have a role. I have this rule. Well, not a rule. I say we don't have managers. In Charlotte, we do. It's completely different. But in Chapel Hill, that I run, we don't have managers. We don't have a hierarchy, or it's all egalitarian. We're all the same. And we have this mantra or saying, if I don't do it, it doesn't get done. So if you walk down at the one end of the bar and see a light bulb out, you got to change it. You can't say, oh, that's for the woman that cleans. Yeah, you got to do it. If I don't do it, it doesn't get done.
Right.
And I think when you do managers and have like a hierarchy, I think you lose that way of thinking.
Yeah.
So
It's a culture of ownership. If you're here, you're an owner.
Right.
Where did they talk about it? I think it's the Great Game of Business.
I don't know.
They talk about that. It's this idea that like you create, or no, It's My Company Too by Thomas Walter, I believe. And in that book, he talks about an entangled organization. And what an entangled organization is it's where everybody literally treats it like they're the CEO. Where if the new hire who's been there for a week walks into a room and the CEO is doing something that isn't aligned with the core values and the principles, that new hire can correct the CEO. so like that's the idea of like, it's like when you give people the core values and you give people the expectation and you give them the open door to contribute and say, you're just as important as the CEO. We want to hear what you have to say.
Right. That's
Is that
what we
you're
do.
saying?
Yeah, that's what we do. Now, and that's what we've done at the Chapel Hill location. Megan will say that I get too involved in their personal life, in their personal lives. She'll say that there should be a wall there. But to me, that's part of my brilliance, that I do want to explore that, and I do want to embrace it. Now, what I found with Charlotte, this sounds cynical, but this new worker, 21 to 25, gosh,
Gen Z, I think is what we're calling them.
What do you call them?
Gen Z, maybe? Or
I don't know. But they don't want to do that CEO thing. That what you just talked about, that CEO mentality. If I don't do it, if it doesn't get done, they want to be compensated for everything they do, and they want to have roles. They want to know what their expectations are, and they want hierarchy. They want managers. They want those things, and if they start doing, from what I've learned, and it's not a, I mean, I'm not in the trenches with them down in Charlotte, but if they do, they want compensation for everything they do. So we try to accommodate that.
Well, I mean, that's what balance is, right? People are always, oh, it's like this. It's complete chaos. There's no hierarchy. Well, on the flip side, well, what you're saying now is people do want hierarchy and they do want expectations. And I think both are true. But our job as owners is to find the balance, right? So
Balance or bounce?
Balance. Like there's extremes. There's
Yeah.
yin and the yang.
Yeah, I'm better black and white. I'm not. The gray is hard for me.
Yeah, it's not, I think extreme left or extreme right. Any polar behavior is generally not good.
Not good. Yeah. I agree with you.
And most
But gray is so hard.
But that's the sweet spot is gray. It's finding the balance. So yeah, do we want to empower our staff to feel like they can contribute and have a voice, and that if they have a solution they can bring it to the table?
We do.
Yes. Do we want hierarchy? Because there needs to be a channel of communication. There needs to be a flow. Like hierarchy is important because it's the channel of communication. Like you can't expect that line employee can bring something to the team, but they shouldn't go straight to the CEO with it. They should go to their manager, and the manager will bring that to the general manager, and the general manager will bring that to the owner of the business or the CEO. Right. So there is a place for hierarchy because it's how information flows, but you don't want it to be a hierarchy in the sense that everyone that is below me works for me. You invert that hierarchy, and I'm here to serve everybody else, right? So it's just how you look at it and find that. I think that's what it really comes down to. Is there's no right answer. There's extremes, and somewhere in the middle, based on you and what you're trying to do, where you exist, and what time, what decade it is, and what the culture wants. It's constantly trying to find that sweet spot. It's so fluid.
Yeah.
Did I lose you?
No, I'm thinking
A little bit of a rant.
I'm thinking it's just so hard.
It is hard.
It's so hard.
Yeah, it's that
It's
easy
so
and
hard.
that hard. That's
So hard.
it's the simple stuff, but it's not easy to do.
Yeah.
Conceptually simple.
Conceptually simple. Like the Sazerac.
Right.
But complicated when you make it.
When you have to show up every day and find that balance.
Yeah.
And manage those relationships.
So I think this is good for me, listening to this, doing this. I think now what I want to focus on is engaging this team and doing more businesses because it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Building those cultures.
It's different because it's so different. Eric, when I opened my business, when Meg and I started the bar, I knew it was going to be successful. I knew it. And I don't know how to read a spreadsheet. The P&Ls, they intimidate me. And I've had to learn how to do that. And I still get confused on the periods.
I'm not a P&L person either, man.
Yeah, I'm just not good at it. But
there's freaks of nature that are left side and right side brain, and they get it all. I'm far social emotional intelligence. I'm a culture person. If I was in a restaurant today, I'd be the rah,
Yeah,
let's
that's
go,
who
everybody.
I am. That's who I am.
And that person has a lane.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's smart to have partners, because to be the best today, you can't do it alone, man.
Man, the partners make it so much easier.
You got support.
It's so much easier.
Yeah. So where do you think we're going? Let me ask you that. What's the future of the industry?
So I think that the light's coming down.
What do you mean by that?
We're in a tunnel, and the light's coming down. And we don't know if it's an oncoming train or if it's the sunlight. But I think what's happening is we have to find a way to everybody shares in the benefits of the business.
I think that is the future. And I've been, like, you're reinforcing. I thought I was a crazy person for the longest time, because I started saying this like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I think the future of the industry is in partnerships.
Yeah.
Because there's fewer people working in the industry. If you really want the talent, what is going to bring them to the table? A paycheck isn't enough today.
No, it's not enough.
They want security. They want equity. They want their name on the front of that.
They want a title. They
Yeah.
want a title.
Right.
In Charlotte, one of the guys has, I hope he's not listening to this, but his title is like,
I hope that old employee's
creator,
girlfriend
like-
isn't listening to this. The one that wanted to get married. And
oh, no, they're married.
I know
They're married.
He came around.
Oh, yeah. And they live in Tahiti.
Oh, nice.
No, Bali. They live in Bali. But one of the guys has this title, and I told my partner, I said, man, I don't want to sound like a baby, but that's what I want to be. And he said, yeah, they all want titles.
Yeah.
It's like creative development or something like that.
Well, that's part of human needs, to be seen. It's literally right above like security. It's security. Do people see me?
Yeah.
Then it's like personal growth, then it's self-actualization or something like that.
But I think I love the partners. I love it. And I have two, in Charlotte, and I've been in 3 different partnerships, and this is the only one that's still viable. The other 2 have been horrible. And they don't exist anymore. But my 2 partners in Charlotte make me better. They make me want to perform better. And it's different. My roles are changing. Like, I was barman in charge of the drinks and the bar program. But now there's people that are doing that. That are making it happen. And it doesn't have to, I don't have to have oversight over it, because they already understand what I'm about, which is good. I think there's something true to giving the staff ownership, this equity.
Well, there's something that's freeing about it too. Now they're partners. They're going to treat it like they own it. They literally own it. So there's no calling in sick to go to a party. Like they got stake in the game. It's their business. But also having people buy in and have stake in the game means you can replace yourself with new owners, right? And go on and start new businesses and increase your wealth. But the only way you can replace yourself, like employees are transient. Owners are a little more sticky, especially when they buy in. So, like, what is your business model for that? Like, real quick, if you had one. There's one company that they're gonna hate me for telling me this, because I keep on like sharing with the world like their business model and what they're doing. I think it's like eat, drink, and be merry. Or
is it a hospitality group?
Yeah, it's in New York. I've had like their sister company on the show, Uptown Social, in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah,
and what they do is they say basically like, this is the value of the business. It's worth $1 million. And if you want a point to be an equity partner, you got to pay us $10,000 and you own a percentage of the business. But to become a partner, you need to buy in. But I love that because it filters out people who aren't serious. They have to go get the money, and it's in reach from like most young people can't come up with $1 million.
Most of these bartenders don't have the
but
money.
But they can work to $10,000. They can get a loan from a family member for $10,000.
Yeah.
And that gives them stake equity in a business.
I didn't know about that model. We don't have a model. They
basically figure out EBITDA.
Yeah.
And then they say, based off the EBITDA, this is what 1 point's worth. And if you want to be a partner, you can buy in. And then they generally have a lane. They're like a front of house person or a chef.
Right.
Or they even have a marketing person on staff who owns equity in a business. And then she does marketing for all the businesses in the group. It's fucking fascinating.
And the group pays them.
And they I think they make a salary. Owners pay.
Yeah. That's a nice model. I don't think we're that organized.
I don't think a lot of people are. That's why I'm here, my man. Because if we're going to transform the industry, if we're going to empower people, they got to hear, like, we need inspiration. We need to see what other people are doing.
It's so different than the way it used to be.
Right.
Used to be you had to, oh my gosh. Used to be you had to work 20 years, before you, like, I bartended for a long time before I owned. And someone trusted me with the money and they lent it to me. But now, our staff's getting equity just based on their work within 3 years, and it's wonderful, but it's different.
There's different models, and I would love to hear about the different models. We do have to wrap it up. We got one more minute before 3 o'clock, and we're getting John in the seat. John's been so generous with letting us use this space here to record these interviews. So before we say goodbye, I got to ask you, who do you respect and admire in the industry? Somebody that is a restaurant owner or operator who's killing it, who's a leader in their market, who, if it was a guest on the show, you'd be like, I want to listen to what that person has to say. What they're spilling their guts, like, sign me up. What do they have to share? Who's that for you? If you can't just think of one person, you can give me multiple.
Jack McGarry, that owns Dead Rabbit.
Yeah, that's the second call out. So we're going to make this happen.
But I can't, like with Jack, I mean, he has a notepad with 10, 6, 15 pages of to-dos, and he just goes through them and marks them off as he does them. I don't think that's not me, although I admire him. Sean Kenyon out in Colorado.
Kenyon?
Sean Kenyon, yeah.
And was that Denver?
Yeah, he owns Williams and Graham.
Williams and Graham?
Yeah.
All right, that's good, man. Thank you. And before we say goodbye, we got to have you also let us know if we're inspired by your story. Maybe we're in North Carolina, or maybe we want to relocate. And it sounds like you're opening a lot of concepts right now.
Yeah.
Maybe there's room for growth. Maybe we want to learn from one of the legends in the industry and how to make these amazing cocktails and to get that education. Are you hiring?
We are always hiring.
So
we're always hiring good
what's your
people.
information?
It's just Gary Crunkleton at Gmail.
Awesome. And maybe this is somebody who is inspired by your story and they're an owner and they want some advice.
Reach out. I'm glad to help. It takes a village. Gary Crunkleton at gmail.com. No space, no dots. GaryCrunkleton.
Beautiful. Gary, this is where I say there is no questioning, my man. You are unstoppable. Cheers.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.